How do you approach like strategically finding the right partners? Where do you like, what are the areas of your business, of your product and deliverables that you start to focus on? Hey, we need to find a outsourced partner there that we can really trust and have in our collective that no matter what, we can rely on
So
them.
yeah, great question. I think what we look at, Khalil, is number one, um, what is the is it a core offering of ours? Is it something that we're delivering frequently and regularly where we go, hey, we gotta be really good at this?
Yeah.
Number two, how often is that? Right. So is that an investment bank? Two, where are we being asked to do that? Is it only in our backyards? We all get the odd occasional request. So for example, if you want me to produce the 20-foot high balloon archway for your exhibit, I'm probably not going to go out and make the investment in a balloon archway tank and, you know, fill up company, or those resources. But we'll find, and by the way, I get asked for it once a year. So, we'll find somebody, we'll put them in our vendor, base. Um, and so that, so you force Gump your way into some of those, but I think
Yeah.
we look at what are the 5 core things that we're delivering, um, some of which we may own in-house. So if it's, I need flooring is what people want from us. It's going to go with the hardware, and the hardware could be the exhibit structure. It could be some of the furniture that goes with that. That's considered hardware. Some of the audio visual components, right? The graphic messaging that's going on there, whether it's different kinds of graphics, whether it's outdoor, whether it's indoor, is it backlit, is it fabric, is there preferences, delivery to and from show site, is it cross country, is it local, how well do they know the marshalling yard and how to get in and out of that? Like we look for we look for what those needs are, and then ultimately the professional labor to set it up and take it down. In our own back core markets, we have our own team, and we're signatory to union contracts. In secondary cities, we just make sure we've got people that we use that are in their core cities, and we know all the right, because we're in those businesses, we know all the right questions to ask. So it doesn't take long for us to build the bench strength when we need that. It's the occasional stuff that we don't necessarily have a collective for. It's probably a one-off question, Khalil, and I've got great project managers that can source that for somebody. It's not something
Yeah.
we're going to charge. Our philosophy is we're not going to find somebody and figure out a way to mark it up 10 or 15%. We're going to find somebody for you. We're going to tell you who it is, and we're going to get out of the way and put you directly in touch with them. If we're not adding
Yeah.
value, then we're not, because the budgets are already under attack. You don't need unnecessary layers, in my opinion. So that's part of the way that we stay true to our customer partners, our exhibit house and agency partners. So,
Well, and I think that's one of the fears that a lot of people have of disclosing that, hey, we're using an outsourced partner for this aspect of the project that we're delivering to you. How do you handle that conversation with the
oh,
client?
great question. Yeah,
And
love
what
this
is that?
question.
How is it received?
So it's funny. I haven't told you this, but there's a couple of guys that I want to bring onto the podcast that are really giving us a fair amount of work, and they're making the decision to do it for good, sound economic reasons for their customer. For example, they're in the middle of the country, and if they go, look, I know you're on this tight budget for this simple 20 by 20 space at a show in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Um, I I I know what you have to spend, and we're going to use 30% of that budget that you have in round trip freight. I can build it right here in my back room, and we can ship it to Fort Lauderdale and back, and we're going to spend a ton of money on those behind the scenes costs. Because we're who we are, we have access to a collective of providers that only work for the trade companies, and they have inventory, they have frame and custom counters local in those markets. So I would rather use them to build, a lot, if not all of these components, and we're just going to spend a local delivery fee, but let's spend the majority of your budget on the things that dress up that environment that you're going to be conducting business in for 3 days. And so I'm saying we're doing this, Mr. Customer, because this is the smarter spend of your dollars. We'll project manage it for you. Those guys are
Mhm.
100% accountable to us. So, but I'm making this decision because this is the smart spend for you. So my point, Khalil, is if you're saying that to your customer, how's your customer not over the moon loyal to you? And I
Yeah.
think that the smart companies are recognizing we have some companies that go, I'm only going to make 10 or 15%, Chris, on this project I'm giving you. And I'm like, well, that doesn't seem fair. I know we're doing all the build work and the delivery and the labor. And they go, no, 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 no. This is a great customer. We do $1 million a year. It's okay for one project or a couple of projects that we don't make our normal margin. But this is our responsibility of how we take care of this customer, and we enjoy the loyal relationship that they give us.
Yeah.
That is much more of what we're seeing happen today, post pandemic, on how collaboration is happening.
Yeah. I think one thing that comes to mind with this, and maybe it's a caution to people that, you mentioned that you don't mark up the outsourced work that you do, and maybe there are instances where you do, but I just think
By the
about,
way, that's
you know,
that's my choice. I'm not saying.
sure.
Yeah.
And this comes from my experience, something to be aware of as you use, outsourced partners for different aspects of projects. Sometimes what's great about, having a trusted partner that's in your collective is that a lot of times the project management becomes extremely minimal. And maybe this is a caution from the people that don't have that collective and they're just kind of willy-nilly about who they trust with a outsourced aspect, is that when you do that, you have this project management cost essentially
Yeah.
of you're going to spend a lot of time and energy and attention on managing a project. And if you
Yes.
haven't charged for that, one of the challenging things about project management is that the scope can be almost infinite. Like the number of variables that could go wrong on a project
Yeah.
are just, they're so numerous that essentially you can't really build systems around it all the time, and you can't predict what's going to happen. And so the time that ends up going into that is
Yes.
it's something that you probably should be charging for, right? And that can
Khalil,
be
this is
kind
this
of the
is a great.
downsides.
Thank you for bringing this up. So it's only been, it seems recently, but I guess it's been a few years. We proudly will line item project management now on
Yeah.
things we're involved in, that and happy, happy, happy to have the detailed discussion as to why that is. You know, we're not
Yeah.
doing that for cookie cutter things that we're just, pick and packing off a shelf, right? But there's
Right.
and it's usually as a percentage of the job, and but it's for what you said. There's so many variables and moving parts and pieces and research or behind the scenes logistical um, uh, time costs, right? We're doing that.